Hi,
Hey.
everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to start out with Liana and I are making a little bit of a shift into Love Club because we've realized we both have our tools, we have our practice, but we're also human beings in our own human experience. We're all here on this same level together, so we wanted to ground it and really get authentically vulnerable and opening up about how we use our tools and our practice in our personal lives through our personal experiences.
Yeah, I just feel like there are a lot of people out there telling you what to do and being experts. And yes, while we are experts in some capacity, we're also just like you, and we are always having challenges, and we're always looking to grow and evolve. And I always find that it's far more interesting for me to hear other people's journeys and how they overcome things and how they look at things and how they process the world. That helps me the most. So Allie had this kind of insane experience recently, and I just felt like it was such a beautiful example and a beautiful tool for learning and growing for everyone else. It was sort of like, we should be using this stuff comes up in our lives. We spend like an hour on the phone dissecting it before we even get on these calls. So it's like, wait, this is, you know
Let's
it's useful. It's very
focus
useful. So
on the focusing on the dissection instead of the presentation, just being a little bit more in the mud.
yeah, with you, with
With our
everyone.
team, with our dream team love club. Yeah, so I feel like what do you want to start with?
I, well, in my practice and in my own life, and this is how I even got to my practice. I know I've talked a bit about this in other videos, but I only became a health coach because my body just stopped me. It was like, the life you're living is not right. The choices you are making is not good. And I am going to like stop you in your tracks because you are not listening. We're sending you small messages and you are not listening and you're not trusting. So you are going to get sick. And that's what happens with a lot of the clients that come to me. And it's really interesting because so much, and I started on a journey of like, okay, lots of doctors, medicine, and it wasn't until I started making really big lifestyle changes, including nutrition, that things healed, and that sort of got me very fascinated about this journey. So it's something we talk about a lot, is the mind body connection. And now both of us, because we are both ENFPs, which if you are Myers-Briggs people or 16 personalities, it means like we're feeling, we're empathy centered, very feeling humans. So if you are that way, and even if you aren't specifically an ENFP, you can sort of be this way, but your wisdom is in your body. So much of, especially my 20s, I was in my head really trying to fix things that my body, being very counterintuitive to what my body was trying to tell me. And listening to my head over my body, and until I got sick and it sort of, really laid me out, I had to really start listening. And you had an experience recently like that I'd really, if you're open, share to, whatever extent you want to share.
Yeah, starting with
I think I mean, well, you're in a big transition, so maybe set us up with a transition and then, lead into this beautiful experience you just had, but then what that ended up looking like.
yeah, okay. So I've lived in LA for 6 years and I am moving tomorrow. I was supposed to move on Sunday and then U-Haul called me last night while I was in urgent care saying that they just canceled my truck. And I asked why, and they said they were overbooked and they were sorry. So we had to, you know, found one in Orange County. My dad is going to have to help me out because I've learned in this last week in LA space, to ask for help. And I've really reached out to my people and I've asked for support, and everyone has showed up. And it makes me feel even more grateful and even more in trust of the universe. I think sometimes I try to do things alone because I don't like being a burden, or I don't like putting, hard things on the people I love because I work so hard on holding space. But I've needed help this week, and that's okay. And that's been a really cool thing to own. Um, so the last month in LA, was a very free space. And I called Lianna on the last weekend of August, kind of like, what am I going to be doing for the next 20 days? I can't be here anymore. There's no one, like, I don't have any of my people here. Los Angeles is on fire. Um, Everyone's like spiraling into unemployment. 14 million Americans are still unemployed. 7 of those are in California. So it's just a challenging time. I ended up reconnecting with my oldest childhood friend that I was born across the street from. Um, I opened my heart and I trusted, and he and I met up one night, and then it turned into this wild love affair of very heightened emotions and experiences. And in the past, those kinds of experiences have taken me very far off the ground. And it has always been a challenge for me to get back on the ground after those kinds of things. So, a little over a week ago, he came over and we had a magical, beautiful dinner. And he proposed that we needed to go to an island to discover who we are to each other, to evolve, to celebrate this moment that's been given to us. So we went to St. John in the US Virgin Islands, and we just connected to nature. We were in solitude there. We went on a sailboat, we swam with sea turtles, we wrote a book. I mean, all of the magic you could encapsulate as a human, just go ahead and throw it in that weekend on that island.
Yeah, writing a book is not what most people do on their vacation, but I love that we threw that in so
Well,
casually.
you know, it's like you meet these people, and it was a huge practice of loving fully, openly, vulnerably, without attachment of outcome.
Mm.
Right? Like, he's in a healing space. I'm in a huge transitional space. We recognized our circumstances and showed up full. We pushed each other in ways that we hadn't experienced maybe as adults, and in love for sure. And that can just stir up all kinds of things in our bodies, my friends. So here's how it ends. So the last morning I woke up and my throat, I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing, and I heard, tell him you love him, tell him you love him, tell him you love him, to the point where I sat up in bed.
And you hadn't told him before?
No. And I looked at him. It's 6:15 in the morning, and I told him I loved him. And then I immediately put on my running clothes and I ran away. And I ran and I ran and I ran, and there's something just like, ugh, it was so weird. And I got back to the house and we were out of water and I was extremely dehydrated. So I filled up a glass about this big and I chugged a sink water and I put it down, and I immediately was like, that was bad. That was a bad idea. So about an hour later, I just broke out in what I thought was like bug bites all over my back and my hips and my legs and my stomach, and I started to experience extreme discomfort. I had to work very hard on my mental energy because my heart was still racing. Now my body was swelling. Now I was worried my heart was racing because of something imbalanced in my body. So that's when you clue into stillness and moving meditation. So even though we had to take ferries, cars, trains, buses to get to the St. Thomas airport, I was very still, very connected to my breath, really connected to my affirmations, reminding myself that I was okay, that I was safe, that I could land back on the ground, because I hadn't been on the ground. When you're channeling spirit and you're in that extreme, vulnerable, open space of the vibration of love, whew, a lot. So then we get to the St. Thomas airport. There's no food. There are like 10 people there. All I could rummage up was like a fried chicken salad, potato chips, and for some reason I just really needed a chocolate ice cream bar. So again, these are things that I've been on Healthy by Lianna's detox 80% of the time. So dealing with heightened emotional stress, physical contamination, as well as, dehydration, drinking rum and Coke. Like, I don't think I've ever had a rum and Coke in a glass, and I had three of those. So like my body was just like not knowing what to do. And then we get back to LA, and I wake up Monday morning covered in hives, just full blown, swollen body rash, itching to discomfort, burning and itching to this discomfort of an 8. So I call my personal doctor that Lianna and I've both worked with. He's an NET, very Eastern, holistic doctor, but is a doctor. So I went to him on Wednesday. He tested mercury, arsenic, 3 different deadly bacterias, and 4 different fungi in my system. And what was interesting is those were all very directly related to my throat chakra, from being tested and pushed and having to speak in a level that really was connected to the level I've been working towards landing on. But then I was embodying it as a little baby deer and was forced to just own it. And it terrified me to the point where I ingested toxins subconsciously. Because then that blocks your thyroid and then your blood circuit. Like, it's a very complicated thing, but I'm just being honest about who we are. So then I started taking heavy metal detox supplements and woke up yesterday worse. So I don't know if my body was just purging the toxins, but
it's sort of like on the detox when you start feeling really shitty for a little while, like
right,
the sugar detox.
right.
When we detox, sometimes you tend to feel worse before you feel better, because your body really is like sort of taking sometimes a lot of toxins out of your fat cells and like getting rid of, like you are re-experiencing it sometimes, depending on what you're detoxing from.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel that energy of my body was shutting down. I couldn't drive. I couldn't talk. I was about to pass out. And I could just feel this like purge, but I just knew I'm about to get into a U-Haul truck and drive across the United States of America and move to Dallas, Texas from my home in LA that's burning on fire, and we can't even breathe in the city right now. We need masks just to walk our dogs. Not even about COVID at this point. So then, and then your mind starts going nutty, right? So I like talked to a couple people. Someone threw out hepatitis A. Someone threw out coronavirus of a different form, because they're starting to notice it's taking like rash form, since it's being proven it is a blood-based virus. So then my head starts spinning, and I was like, we got to stop this. We can't go into that spiral. We have to take care of ourselves. I pay $350 a month of my own money out of my own pocket for health insurance. Let's just thank it, wrap it up, and take advantage. So I go to urgent care in a mask and a shield and gloves. I get tested for COVID. It's negative, so they let me come in to the clinic, and then it was like such a process, which was cool. And my staff were all women. And my doctor was from the Virgin Islands, like this beautiful 50-something-year-old woman, and so cool because she like lit up. She hadn't thought of home, and she laughed because I drank the water. She's like, "What are you thinking? Don't drink the water in North Carolina. Like, why would you drink it on an island?" And it was a combination of a bug infestation that attacked me on the beach the last night, which I remember, like that was a thing, with the water, with emotional stress. So she's like, you cannot think that it's just one. Like, it really is all. And you're going to have very strong mental clarity and connection to just get through the discomfort. So they stabbed me in the butt with a steroid shot, and then I woke up, got myself home. The swelling went down because I couldn't breathe yesterday. I was starting to get hives all over my neck because I couldn't breathe. And anyways, it's just really fascinating. So here we are. Now I'm leaving tomorrow. So this is my last day in Los Angeles, California as a resident in this chapter. And I'm leaving a lot behind. I'm just going to share this. I got a call from an unknown number after I announced on social media this week that I'm leaving, with a muffled voice questioning if I was a Trump supporter, because I'm leaving the leading Democratic state of the country for a leading Republican state. And it scared me. And it was just like, we're dealing with like a lot on a lot of very intense levels, and it's been stressful. So what's beautiful about all this is
that just gave me goosebumps, by the way. That's so
I
creepy.
haven't even told anyone but my parents. So there we go. Hello.
Well, guess what? Texas needs people like us in it to help turn it
Yes,
around.
we've got to balance it out, and the people of Texas are good people. They're just very aligned to a certain idealistic system. And I think we need to remind ourselves that right now is not about a system, it's about individuals and it's about truly saving the planet. If I can drink a glass of water and almost die from poisoning, let's talk about what the children are drinking around the world. This is still in the United States. So it really flared that up in me. Like, my city is on fire. We have to save the planet. So, with all this being said, this week it forced me to spend my last week in LA focusing on myself, touching my body, feeling my skin. My skin was burning and itching to the point it was begging me to get in it, getting my attention. So I listened. So I get back on Lianna's sugar detox. So since Sunday, back on, no alcohol for at least 2 weeks, no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no corn, and just getting really clear. And it's amazing because I woke up today and I'm back. Like, I'm still itching and I'm trying not to touch it to respect our friends. But I can think again, I'm clear again, and I'm thankful that I have that tool that Lianna gave me of our diet being our most powerful number one medicine, because then you get to the mind body. But it's hard to get to the mind body and save yourself from mercury poisoning if you're not connected. And our diet is that number one step, in my personal opinion: diet, sleep, meditation, that gets us to that kind of strong mental
Clarity.
abilities. And so then now it's like, here I go. And I'm just letting the man go. And if it comes, let it. If it goes, let it. I'm going through a transition. And instead of transitions in the past, like when I moved from New York to LA or Texas to New York, instead of it being this like manic whirlwind of excitement and eating and drinking, it's like I'm going in more with like calm, grounded, let's step into this next human that we are evolving to. So
The interesting thing about this, and I feel like one of the lessons here is that when we are in a heightened state of emotion, when we are under stress, when we are under a lot of change, when we are, falling in and out of love and under, like, I mean, you are going through so much right now. It's like you are letting go of an old identity, of a place where you really wanted to live for a long time because of external circumstances, not because of internal ones. So you're letting go of a dream. So you're mourning that. You're letting go of a lot of people in LA that you love. There is this budding new romance that's confusing. It's like, where does this stand? And then it's like you're sort of up leveling to go to Texas to sort of take on a lot more responsibility and sort of step into your power in a new way. So it's like, not only are you saying goodbye and mourning the ending of a lot of things, but you're being forced to stand in your power in a new way. So literally, it's like everything is being pushed and shifted, and moving is incredibly stressful. So here, in one of those circumstances, we might have more inflammation. We might, our cortisol levels might be elevated. Any of those things might be happening. But you have 3 or 4 different things going on at once. And when our emotional state is so heightened, our bodies are so much more sensitive to other things. So maybe if you had gone into that, it wasn't a pandemic, and, not even that it was as scary to travel, but there's a level of fear around traveling. Yeah. So here you are, having traveled with a little bit more stress, and a little bit more, should we be doing this?
Yeah.
So it's like every layer of this was really stressful on your physical being. And it's so interesting because I see this time and time again with myself, with my clients. It's like, your body is like, there's a lot going on, Alli. Is this the best? Like, I'm totally freaking out. So when you put me in a situation where I'm a little bit compromised by, something in the water, something in the food, a new kind of insect, engaging with me, your body is going to completely flare up. And the beautiful lesson here is like, because of this summer of the work you and I did together, and the work you and I have done together, in the past year around your health and your body, you had tools to be like, okay, I'm getting yelled at. There's something really intense happening. I now know what to do. I know how to sleep. I know how to eat. I know how, and like you've had a meditation practice for a really long time, which was incredibly important because it's so easy to spin out in certain ways around exactly what you were talking about. You're like, no, I know I need to keep this together because the more I spin out, the more my cortisol levels are going to be elevated, the more inflammation, the bigger these rashes are going to be and the hives are going to be. You got to keep it calm. And I just think that like it was such, with a lot of clients I see or just friends, it's like that would be something that they were thinking was maybe, oh, completely unrelated to what's going on the inside. And whenever you have a big external disconnection where you are getting sick, I promise you it is because there is something internally also happening. And always taking a moment, because it's not necessarily your fault, but your body's like, please slow down, stop, be quiet, be careful, whatever it is. Please listen, because when you do sort of zoom out, and you did the beautiful thing of like actually going to the doctor, but then also dealing with the emotions behind it and knowing that like you need to just slow down and rest, but also you needed to check your headspace a little bit. And when you have all of those things combined, that's when A, you learn and grow. B, you sort of hear maybe what you need to hear, what your body's trying to tell you. And C, you heal so much faster. But you heal in this way where it's like you also got a lesson and it probably doesn't happen in the same way again. Mm-hmm. And I just think that like, thank you for sharing all that because it was very vulnerable and it's a lot, but it's just a perfect example of literally the perfect storm of so many things going on and your body just having a full meltdown. Mm-hmm. And again, in this culture, we look to just medicine, often, or we look to just external circumstances. And I guess what, the biggest thing we're trying to say here is like, it's always both. It's the pairing of the two. And usually during a big health crisis, there's a lesson to be learned. There's a shift to be made. And here you are doing the work. So I want to applaud you.
Thank you. I mean, I almost think it's like a test of like, you have the tools, you have your practice. Like, do you want to really, really use them? And yeah, we really use them. And I think in the past, when I've been on an experience like that is so far off the earth and like so in the cosmos, since my gift is like very much like, it's like a pearl, so like the bottom of the ocean and like the cosmos, so I can like get very off balance with the two. So it's been my goal the last 2 years to like harness that and keep it centered. So to be able to still experience those things, but just stay here the whole time, it's been a great test. And again, I just want to reiterate this. It came down to meditation, positive affirmations, my diet, movement, 100%, like 100%, and connecting to people that listen and love me, and that can be vulnerable in itself. It's not always like it's not always easy to step up and say, I need a hand. And when you do, it's really beautiful to see how people want to help each other.
Oh, that's the thing is like, we're always afraid to help, but helping someone else is what makes a lot of people feel good.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We forget that.
Yeah.
And like, when I first got here,
between someone that's asking for help, that's aware that they must help themselves to get themselves out of the circumstance, and a person that's drowning and spinning and in the quicksand asking you to help them. It's a very different space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, always help. Mm-hmm. But some people don't know how to accept it when they're in the drowning space, but always say yes, I feel. But so, I was just going to say, when I first got here, I mean, my first 6 weeks leaving LA and coming to Maine, I got a rash all over my face, specifically my eyeballs. Like it was itchy, eczema all over. And it's a little bit, I have a little bit of it was on my neck, it was on my hands, it was on the inside of my elbow. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. I've never had that experience before. And it led me to do a lot of different things, a lot of rest and sort of clean eating and crying and processing. So I think there's a lot of my LA dreams sort of, took at least a pause, if not an ending. And then here I am processing a divorce, processing a breakup, because of course I jumped into a relationship because that's what I do. So here I am trying to break patterns. Um, and then, but the beautiful thing, and this is where, you know, judge us if you will, or believe what you want. If you're listening, if you're connected, if you pay attention when you have, especially moments where your body is like, I'm in crisis, it will lead you to the right people, to the right places, to the right situation. And I had to I thought it was an allergy. So I looked up someone who dealt with like allergy through acupuncture. And it's been the most transformative, powerful healing experience that I didn't know that I needed emotionally.
Talk
Because,
about that. Let's go.
well, it turns out this was someone who does a lot with allergies, which is why I was directed towards him. But his other specialty is trauma healing, and he defines trauma as anything that's still bothering you emotionally, which is, that we all have tons of it. And he's really allowed me to beautifully process and let go of my marriage, the relationship that followed, really helped me transform my relationship with my career and my business and my old creative endeavors, and is now really working with me to step into my power. And the interesting thing that Alli and I are very connected in a way that, like, we are often going through the same thing. It is very strange, but it makes us really beautiful partners.
Yes.
Because we can show up and be like, of course you're having that exact same experience in a different way than I am. But I think what's really, really interesting is that for 6 weeks, had a pretty extreme, everything itched. My eyes were swelling up, then itching, drying out, flaking off, and over and over and over. And it was so awful. And I was having these days where I was getting dizzy, and it was just really uncomfortable to be in my body. It was itchy. It was painful, sort of like you're experiencing. And what you and I have both gone through in this time period, and it was like, I almost feel like I was like molting my old, like a snake or something. But like what you and I, and what pandemic, and what we're showing up here to do together is stand in our power and leadership in a different way. And it's been painful. And I think as a woman in this society, we're not always supported in that way. We're not always given the examples. We're not always encouraged in the way men are. It's a lot more, especially I'm of Asian descent. So there is a part of me that feels like, it's nicer to be quiet and to be easier, not to put a stereotype on it, but that was some of my experience, was really like being a little bit, at least quieter, like not showing up and trying to like, do what my Leo self, what my loud Leo moon wants to do all the time. And I think it's just been very interesting because all of this does somehow feel related to us pushing up against our own really extreme limitations to up level to the point where we are standing in our own power.
Yes, 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 yes.
I tend to always, and this is how I go through life, and this is why I'm really here for any experience, is I look at everything as a teacher. And that's a big part of what we talk about here, is like truly everything is a teacher. And maybe it's me just seeing weird connections where things exist or don't exist, but it kind of doesn't matter to me because it allows me to find beauty in pain and beauty in struggle and beauty in challenge.
Amen. Thank you for saying that, because if this last week taught me anything, it's like, do not victimize yourself for suffering. Like, this is balance. This is life. My mom texted me something so funny. She's like, yeah, well, sometimes you fly down and you get a bug bite on your ass. Like, it's just, we got to stay grounded. But it just reminds me, like, don't get swept up into the negativity, into the pain, observe it. And I think learning like meditation really helps you continue to be able to objectively view your life so that you can not react to what's happening to you, but respond with choice and with grace and with a little space in between. So all of this, I really just kept seeing the beautiful message, and that was that I needed to leave LA by myself. I didn't need to leave LA in a heightened celebratory, like, I'm never coming back, goodbye forever situation. It was just like, get still, get calm, listen, let go. You can't listen and let go if you're, you know, up here. You got to be in here. So I think like the more that we can just seek the beauty and seek the lessons, that's what ends up making life beautiful, because then I'm in urgent care, but I'm coming from a place of I am proud of myself, I'm taking care of myself, I'm a fierce independent woman that like nothing can hold her down, and I'm going to come in here with a smile, with joy, with patience, with connection. And then I become friends with my doctor who's from the place that I came from. I got to shine some home on her and make her laugh. Like, then that's what raises the vibrations. Like, we don't have to go out and do these huge things every day. It's the little things that pass on the important energy that help us connect to our community, that help us connect together, that helps us connect to the world, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to, I guess I was excited to share your experience because I think it's just such a beautiful learning experience. And I think if we could offer you anything, that it's, try to look at your struggles in that way. And, the more you can connections to things or understand, what your body is trying to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
the more you are going to be connected to yourself and on the path of your purpose and, following your dreams and doing what makes you happiest and attracting the right people into your life.
Yeah, I
So
have a
know that
question
like,
for you. So,
what?
um, so like, do you have any advice on how to really listen to your body? Like when you were having your flare in your skin, like what exactly did you do to listen to what it was trying to tell you?
Well, whenever my body freaks out, it's like, stop. You know what I mean? That's the first thing. It's like, stop and like take inventory of how I'm talking to myself, like what's happening in here, but also what's happening out here. So it's like, stop and sleep. And then up here, it's like, meditate and be quiet, like deal with this. Because there's often something happening up here that's very sort of chaotic and I'm not dealing with something. And sometimes you don't know right away. You know what I mean? And it's okay to be in the suffering victim point, like you can have those moments because that's real and you have to feel the pain around it. But for me, it's like it's like I need to just pause and I need to like really calm my schedule down and I need to make space for lots of rest and sleep and make really strong boundaries around that. And then the other part of it is I need to be in meditation. I need to be quiet. I need to be journaling. I need to be just taking inventory of what sort of negative feedback loop I've jumped on. And for me, it's not even, I don't get into those spaces as much as I get into like anxiety and fear and worry. So it's like when I get into lack, when I get into fear, when I get into worry, usually this also reflects that. So again, physically slowing down and then noticing those patterns and just stepping back. Like the first step is just noticing, observing, and becoming aware. And then, when you become, sometimes it's hard to get off of it, that awareness, when you develop that awareness, it's so easy to just take a step back and like you're watching a movie, like you're watching clouds go by in the sky, just be like, whoa, if I'm fear, not enough money, not enough, where am I going to live? What's happening with this? What's happening with coronavirus? And I am here. I'm not at a vibration where I'm going to call in positive things. I'm going to see and attract in more of this fear and lack. So when you can step out of that and be like, you know what? And for me, it just starts with, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm safe. And that's where I personally have to go. It's safe for me to be here. It's safe for me to be here. I am taken care of. I am taken care of. And that's my next step to find, the joy to be in the base of love and joy. And that's where I try to, and I'm an anxious person and I'm someone who can live in sadness and longing. Like that's where my body feels comfortable. And I have to consciously be like, no, look how beautiful this is. No, look how lucky you are. Look how wonderful this opportunity was to be with your parents, to be in this beautiful place, to be on a healing, natural setting for your body. Whereas like I had to climb into that. But step one, that's a very long way of saying, like, stop, drop, and roll. Basically like, stop what you're doing, drop everything and roll your way into bed. And then I'm such a dork. Truly, that was the dorkiest thing I've ever said.
You're so cute.
And then the other is just create awareness and then remind yourself that you're okay. And then from that, when you get to truly feeling okay, then it's like, try to find the beauty, try to find the lesson, try to find the joy. And then from there, everything starts to unfold in a very beautiful, smiling way.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. I'll just tack on like absolutely. When I was like hitting low points yesterday, I kept consciously connecting to my gratitude for the people that I had that day that were showing up for me, loving me, holding space for me, caring about me. And then that level of gratitude, that vibration, that gets oxygen back in your system, that gets oxygen back into your brain, and then we can get to awareness, because sometimes like when we're so locked, it's hard to get to like that open space here. So for me, I realized yesterday was a lot of gratitude and love, and connecting to that was what kept the circulation going. Yeah, anyways.
Well, and gratitude is there, and there's science behind this. Gratitude, having a gratitude practice is the quickest way to get out of negative thinking patterns. When you authentically connect to what you are grateful for, you make a shift. So if you are feeling really stuck, that was exactly the right thing to do. If everything feels like it is piling on top of you, you know, you're still breathing. You have a roof over your head. You probably ate something today. Start there with the basics and get to a more grateful place. And then healing can happen, and then awareness and better thought patterns can be chosen.
Right.
But gratitude is such a beautiful practice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, thank you again for sharing all that. That was very vulnerable.
Thank you for holding that space for me, and for what you offered is just incredibly powerful, and I'm so thankful for you, my little in-house doctor. Well, is there anything else you want to close with that it's like on your heart, that you're maybe excited about what's next, or anything like huge that you've learned like just this week as well?
Well, I had an amazing experience with, you know, the acupuncturist trauma healer that I worked with. And I think we should do a whole other episode on this, because I feel like I would love to share the lessons I'm learning. And this, it's like making me feel emotional. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But truly, with this work, I'm diving right into a lot of my emotional trauma, you know, good, not good. That's not, trauma is not a good thing. I was going to say good and bad, but there's no good. It's just uncomfortable. But what it is teaching me is how powerful I am. And the cool thing about any sort of self-work where you are taking responsibility for your life, your thoughts, your choices, once you start to understand that so much of what is showing up in your reality you are creating, you realize how incredibly powerful you are. And it is amazing. It is amazing. So I feel like there was something so beautiful about this time where I needed to come home and I needed to reconnect with some and heal some stuff from my past that I didn't even know I was holding on to from just growing up, you know, and really get a different look at my relationship with my parents. And that's been really beautiful. But it's truly like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but in this sort of really, in this moment where I'm reconnecting to my power and learning, it's like, oh, I am standing in my power as a woman for the first time. And it feels amazing. And I just feel like I have a lot to give, and I cannot wait to continue to do it. And I love the practice I have. I love what I share with you and what we're creating together. And truly, like, it just feels like I have the strength to put this out there and help whoever needs to hear it.
Yeah. Amen. And I think that a lot of what I experienced with this rash is the same thing. It's like knowing that we're ready to be leaders, and that we're ready to be seen and heard because our message is important, and that we have worked really hard to get here, and that we're still using it on a daily basis to function. So sharing it. But there is a huge barrier of pushing past that fear, stepping into your power as a woman. Like, I know that thank you generations that have, of women who have been so brave to get us to this point where we can finally choose to be in our strength. And
More space.
Love and peace and patience and a cocktail.
And I just want to offer to all of you, you have something that we need also. And your purpose, whatever your message is, someone needs to hear it. Whatever you're passionate about, we need it. So it's your responsibility to find out what that is. And it can be so many different things. You know, it doesn't have to look one way,
And it
but
might be
we all
something
have
that
that.
you're just, it's like right here, right?
What do you mean?
It's just like this thing that you might be passionate about that you need to bring into the world that you want to do. You might be aware of it, but let's pull it in and let's express it because it is so important.
And if you feel called to do whatever it is, whether it be creative, whether it be gardening, whatever it is, being an astronaut,
Give
if
yourself
that's
permission.
truly your passion and what you're called to do, it's because we need you to do it. So, you know, please, for us, do the thing you want to do that you're so passionate about, because it's there for a reason.
It's
Get
time.
involved and tell us what it is. Reach out to us. We want to hear about it. We want to celebrate you. So find out what it is. We're on the journey to obviously finding it out what it is for us. Like, come along with us and share, because it's beautiful and it's really fun over here, even though it's hard sometimes and you get rashes all over your body.
But they go away.
But we know how to heal them. All right. I love you so much.
I love you so much. This was really, really awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye-bye.